Good afternoon and welcome to News 24. We are live in studio with News 24 editor Adrian Basson, where just down the road, Speaker Baleka Mbete just postponed the State of the Nation address for this year. Take us through this. How did we get to here? How did we get to a point that the State of the Nation address had to be postponed?
So it's dramatic scenes playing out there. It's extraordinary. The first time that I remember that the State of the Nation address has been postponed after, according to Speaker Baleka Mbete, she went to see President Jacob Zuma today and asked him whether he would approve the postponement of SONA. You remember that the President technically calls SONA together and addresses the country. And according to Mbete, she then, during that meeting, Zuma told her that he also was writing to her, actually asking for a postponement of SONA. Of course, the only reason for this is the fact that the ANC wants Zuma out. The ANC has asked President Zuma to resign. He has refused on Sunday evening when the officials went to visit him. The NWC now called an NEC meeting, which is scheduled to take place on Wednesday in Cape Town. And there's a number of options that we can talk through that could happen, that would have postponed or that would have made it impossible for SONA to continue with the ANC leadership in absolute flux.
Of course, Tandi Modise is saying that due to the fact that they're expecting major disruptions at SONA, they didn't foresee that it would be plausible to go through with it, and that would be the main reason for the postponement. But what do you think strategically was the reason for postponing SONA?
I think it's a smokescreen to say it was about potential disruptions. There's been disruptions for SONA, at SONA for the past 4 to 5 years. The fact that the EFF or other opposition members would have possibly been thrown out by the old white shirt bodyguards, those heavies, didn't change anything, didn't prohibit any previous SONA from continuing. So I think that's a smokescreen. That's the ANC's way of trying not to articulate what is really happening in the ANC. What is happening in the ANC? The ANC top leadership, at least the majority of the ANC's top leadership, wants Cyril Ramaphosa to become the president of South Africa. They want him to take over from Jacob Zuma and to deliver the State of the Nation as part of this new path, this new plan that Ramaphosa has drafted since his election at Nasrec in December as ANC president. Zuma digging in his heels since Sunday evening, refusing to step down voluntarily, and the ANC now maneuvering how to get Zuma out. It would have been absolutely impossible for Ramaphosa to allow Zuma to deliver the State of the Nation. It would have showed weakness on the part of Ramaphosa and his supporters, that they just can't get rid of this man as president of the country. So the next 24 hours are going to be very interesting. Will Zuma decide to do what some say is the right thing and step down gracefully and hand over to Ramaphosa, or will he fight till the bitter end, until the NEC of the ANC recalls him and embarrasses and humiliates him, that word that we've been hearing so much about, humiliates him and forces him to resign?
So you mentioned the NEC meeting tomorrow night here in Cape Town, they've told us. What is likely to happen at this meeting?
Okay, so what's happening at the moment is that the NEC of the ANC, which consists of 80 members, 80 elected members, plus another 27 officials and provincial and the leagues, so it's 107 people in total, are busy traveling to Cape Town today, Tuesday, to be in Cape Town for this meeting on Wednesday. It was scheduled in Cape Town because the SONA was going to take place here, and a lot of them had to attend that. As far as we know, that meeting is still taking place in Cape Town on Wednesday evening. We heard earlier today from Jesse Duarte, the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, that the emergency or the special NEC will take place on Wednesday evening in Cape Town. As we've become accustomed to the ANC, that meeting will probably run late into the evening on Wednesday. So if the NEC then decides to recall Zuma, that will probably be late in the evening. I only expect one matter to be on the agenda, and that is the refusal of Zuma to go. What one could typically expect is that someone like Didi Mabuza, the ANC Deputy President, or Ace Magashule, the Secretary General, will give a briefing to the NEC, explain to them what steps they had taken to ask Zuma to leave graciously, that he had refused, and that the party is now at this crossroads where the NWC had decided he has to leave. This leaves the ANC with very little option than the one that you'll remember they did with Thabo Mbeki in 2008. Now, again, this option is a bit grey. One has to explain it. The ANC NEC can only recall the president. They cannot force him to resign as president of the country. One expects the President Zuma, like with Mbeki, will then step down of his own volition as president of the country. If the ANC NEC recalls Zuma and he still refuses to resign, the matter will definitely then go to Parliament for a motion of no confidence or an impeachment, which may then be done by his own party.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. The opposition parties have already asked for a motion of no confidence to be tabled, and it has been tabled for the 22nd of February. Should President Zuma refuse to resign, would the ANC then vote with the opposition in their motion of no confidence, or is it likely that they would bring their own motion of no confidence?
Look, Alet, I know we're talking possibilities here. I don't see that possibility playing out. I think that Zuma will be gone in the next 24 hours, either by resigning himself, which people close to him, like his family, may still convince him to do, or by resigning after a recall by the ANC's NEC. If it gets to a point where Zuma bluntly refuses to resign, even after being recalled by the NEC, one would then expect the ANC in Parliament to table their own motion. I struggle to see that the ANC would want to be dictated by EFF motion, EFF-sponsored motion, which is the current one before Parliament. So you'll have someone in the ANC, even the Chief Whip, Jackson Mthembu, or someone else standing up and tabling a motion of no confidence in Jacob Zuma as President of the country. Obviously, you need 50% plus one vote for a motion of no confidence and 75% for an impeachment. In the case of a motion of no confidence, the President as well as Cabinet resigns. In the case of an impeachment, the President resigns or is fired, loses all his benefits, but the Cabinet remains. So there's two slightly different options then to the ANC, depending on what kind of percentage of vote they think they will get and what the opposition will support them with. But that's been scheduled for the 22nd of February. Obviously, the 21st of February, there's the budget speech being scheduled for. We heard Baleka Mbete saying this afternoon and almost hinting to the possibility that the budget speech date may also be affected by the postponement of SONA, because the two are quite closely linked. The President of the country has to first say what he's doing before the Minister of Finance can say how he's going to fund these projects.
Yeah. So with all this pressure mounting on President Zuma, and I know we're speculating here, but the question on everyone's lips is why hasn't he resigned yet?
Alet, I think it's Zuma is digging in his heels, and he's been in power for so long. You know, remember that he was elected ANC president in 2007. That's now, what is that, 11 years ago. He's been the president of the ANC for 11 years. He's been the president of the country since 2008, so almost 10 years. Sorry, from 2009, so yeah, 9 years. And I think you become so used to power, you become so used to being number one. The people around you probably don't tell you what we hear and write every day, the criticism. You know, Zuma also seems to live in a different world where there's no accusations against him. According to our sources, he told the delegation that went to ask him on Sunday night to step down. He asked him, but what did I do wrong? I've already paid back the money for Nkandla, as if that is the only blotch on his record as president of the country. So he's definitely in a state of denial. I think he's in denial about his own corruption allegations. He's in denial about state capture, the very intimate links of his family, and specifically his son Duduzane, to the Gupta family, and the very serious allegations of state capture that is now not only serving before a judicial commission of inquiry chaired by Judge Zondo, but also at the NPA, and the NPA has suddenly started to take action in that regard. So I think Zuma is in absolute denial about his own complicity, about the fact that the NPA soon is going to decide on whether he should face the Shabir Sheikh corruption charges linked to the arms deal again. Zuma's in a lot of trouble, and I think for him, you know, the safety, the kind of the myth of safety around him was this position of state president, and when that falls away, the emperor is naked, truly.
Well, we heard the speaker saying again that they hope to postpone the SONA by only a week, but a lot can happen in a week's time.
Yes, I mean, a week is a lifetime in politics. So how I see this playing out, and this is speculation, is that, you know, Zuma, I think, will be gone within the next 24 hours or 2 days maximum. The ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, if Zuma resigns of his own volition, the deputy president, according to the constitution, then takes over as president, as acting president. The Speaker of Parliament will then call a special sitting of Parliament where a new president will be elected. That is a normal election with the kind of, you know, the show of hands or the push of a button. where the opposition used to normally also put up a candidate, and then there's two candidates, so you'll expect the ANC to put up Ramaphosa as their candidate for state president. The MPs then vote. Ramaphosa will probably be elected as state president and will then be instituted as such. He will then also deliver the state of the nation. First call of business is probably then to also announce his cabinet.
Well, we will be following all the news as it unfolds. Make sure to follow us on News 24.